6:14 p.m. We do the Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very much. Roll call.
Summer Madison, position 1.
Chip Bradley, position 2.
Sergio Martinez, position 3.
Phoebe Skinner, position 4.
Valerie McGilvery, position 5.
Thank you very much. Planning Commission.
Cindy Myers, Planning Commission.
All right. Do we know where Mr. Javante and Ms. Moore are? Ms.
I'm
Moore,
just
could
going
you
to
get your butt up here?
I did not hear that Mr. Javante was not going to be
Could
here.
you try to track down Mr. Javante, please?
How?
You know his phone number?
I have had a
Try to
conversation.
find him?
I had a conversation with him that he wasn't going to be able to attend.
Okay.
Was not going to be able to attend?
It's one of the most important meetings we're having. It'd be nice if he had told us that.
Yeah, because we kind of needed a quorum. I guess they could still make the recommendation because it's not technically a decision. It's just a
Well, and 2 out of 3 is a quorum.
Yeah. You should get a co-host thing. And don't say anything important for a few seconds.
Okay, also in roll call, we have Commissioner Fritz, Assistant Planner Pagano, and Sergeant Peter. Cool. And we'll start out with, we're going to add to the agenda, Councilor Bradley wants to do a presentation.
So, all of us counselors have our things that we do out in the community. Mine has been youth coaching. This spring, Coach Higgins from the high school asked me to come out of my coaching retirement. Was offered the position, accepted. One of the things I knew I needed was to have good assistance. Knowing Officer Moore for quite a while, knowing it was something he was wanting to get into, I'd asked him that if he could join. And tonight I'd like to show some appreciation to our police department. Unfortunately, Chief White isn't here, but Sergeant Peter is, and Gail, for making sure that Officer Moore had his time to be able to come, because Officer Moore was a great help. I don't think we would have had a successful season without him. I know that I really appreciated having him there helping me. While we only had 12 kids, we were able to give more individualized instruction. They had a great season. So tonight I have here Principal Maureen March, two of my players, Dexter Moore and Gage Phillips, to present the Gold Beach Police Department with a ball that the team assigned for you guys, an appreciation for what you did for us, what you do for our community. You guys have a lot of times thankless job, and I wanted to find a way to let you know it is noticed when you guys are out there doing good. Anyway.
How about you guys come up, how about you come right up here, and then the mayor and Mr. Councilor Bradley can come down, and we can get a photo of you guys. Sorry, Carl.
No.
Kind of go in that little area right there. I'm not going in there.
Come on, Maureen.
Gage doesn't want to take a picture.
So go ahead and hand it to Sergeant Peter there. Hold the pose there. Wait. Hold the pose. Thank you so much.
Shouldn't Officer Moore
He
be in
looks
the
like
picture?
oh my god.
Yeah, why aren't you up there? I didn't even notice. I was worried about the look of panic.
You know, I go behind you.
Get closer. She doesn't.
Come on.
I've been in her office.
Yeah.
Yeah, do not unhook the owl or I will, bad things will happen.
I got some
Make sure if I can't
flexibility.
see your face. There we go.
You guys have weapons, but that wouldn't matter.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ted. Very cool.
Sergeant Peter, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Commissioner Moore, we definitely need you tonight. She's not hearing me at all.
She's moving up. Do you want her to stay?
She has to, or we won't have a quorum. You're over here.
You can be wherever you want, that's where I put the
Hey, I'll
name
sit right
tag.
down if you want.
Thank you. Who's the vice chair of the planning commission?
I do not know.
Okay. Which one of you would like to be the vice chair tonight?
You don't have to do anything. Just,
Okay.
Paper, rock, scissors.
You were going to tell them first. Okay, there's just one really quick thing you have to do, and I'll cue you, okay? All right. I lost my agenda. Next up is the Gold Beach Main Street update. I can't think of her last name. Anna Marie wasn't able to make it, and they did not give us anything in writing, so we will, she has a family member that's ill. So we're going to go to the appointment of a student liaison, and Morgan Zinn is online with us. And I believe that Councilor Martinez is familiar with it.
Yes. Yes, I am.
I had a nice conversation with him. He sounds like a really sharp young man. And I would like to appoint him, and according to our rule number 42, I would need your confirmation to do that. So I would like to ask the council to make a motion to confirm Morgan Zinn as our student council.
I'll make a motion.
Student liaison.
No, you do it. You do it, and then I'll.
Thank you. I'm honored to make the motion to confirm Morgan Zinn as a student liaison for the Gold Beach City Council.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Then I will call the question, and we are starting with Councilor Madison tonight.
Aye.
Martinez?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
We're on the room, it's a lot easier just to go. All right, motion passes unanimously. Mr. Zinn, welcome to the Gold Beach City Council.
Glad to be here.
Did you want to say anything?
Not really. I'll just listen for a bit.
Okay. So we're gonna then open a public hearing. This is a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the City Council for our housing advancement project. This has been a lot of meetings, and a lot of work. And I am gonna open the public hearing, and I'm gonna let Administrator Fritz start with, you guys can do like a brief staff report at this point, right?
correct.
And do we also have to enter the written stuff into the record?
It's a good idea just for the formality of it.
Okay, do I do that now?
Yes.
So the only thing I think we have is from Fair Housing Council of Oregon, is that correct? And it is signed by Alan Mazzo, who is their executive director. I don't have to read it, do I?
No.
So it's dated November 7th, 2022, and it's basically in favor of what we're doing, and asked us to track some things to make sure that it doesn't have any unintended consequences.
And then if I could also ask you, Mayor, and normally I don't stand up, you guys, but I got the TV in front here. I put together, there were some suggested changes to some of the definitions, and I provided everyone a copy of those. So if we could also enter those into the record as well.
So into the record, I will enter proposed definitions,
And we'll go over those.
change, and it's 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. And it looks like that. Okay.
Okay, so as the mayor said, there's certain procedural things that we have to do that are like hideously boring, but we have to do them for the record. So I'm going to do this as quickly as possible, and then we can get on to hopefully the adoption portion of it. So the staff report for this particular agenda item starts on page 19 of the packet, and also up in the upper corner, if you have the blue where it says November 7th staff report, it's page 1 of 199. So it's the zoning ordinance and zoning map amendments. This is, as the mayor said, a joint city council and planning commission hearing. This is our second official meeting on this particular topic. We've been meeting all year since March jointly. So this is a legislative amendment to the Gold Beach zoning ordinance and Gold Beach zoning ordinance map. Process. The proposed amendments to the Gold Beach zoning ordinance and Gold Beach map project application was initiated by the Gold Beach Planning and Zoning Department. We're just the planning department. Before taking final action on a proposed amendment to the Gold Beach zoning ordinance and map, the Planning Commission and City Council shall hold public hearings. This process is being undertaken through a set of joint public hearings with both decision-making bodies to consider the written report and recommendation of the Planning Department relative to the proposed amendment to the amendments to the zoning ordinance and map. Notice of the time, place, and purpose of the public hearing has been given in accordance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. We published it in the newspaper, and then also it's been on our website. Appeal rights. The City Council will make a decision on this matter based on a recommendation by the planning staff and the Gold Beach Planning Commission as part of the joint hearings process. Any appeal of a decision by the council shall be made to the State Land Use Board of Appeal, otherwise known as LUBA. That's per ORS 197-830. In order for an issue to be considered for appeal to a LUBA, it must be raised before the close of the record of the public hearing. Such issues must be raised with sufficient specificity so as to afford the hearing body and parties adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. If there is no continuance granted at the hearing, any participant in the hearing may request that the record remain open for at least 7 days after the hearing. We did that after the October hearing. We left the written record open. And as the mayor said, we actually received that letter today, but that's fine. Okay, so the part that I have to read for legal reasons is the applicable criteria. The Gold Beach zoning ordinance amendment and zoning map amendments, the statewide planning goals, and Gold Beach ordinance article 8, which is amendments to the zoning ordinance. And then I'm going to read the second page here, and then I'm done with the reading part of it, and then we can get on to the other stuff. Basic facts and background. The proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance and map are the culmination of a multi-year effort by the City of Gold Beach with funding support from the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development. This process included the following activities: the housing needs analysis, which was 2019, that was completed and adopted; comprehensive plan housing policy amendment, that was completed and adopted in May; and the housing advancement project, which is the culmination of all of this. All of these processes included extensive engagement with members of the Gold Beach community, including the following: work sessions with the Gold Beach Planning Commission and City Council, stakeholder meetings with local property owners, developers, housing providers, social service agency representatives, and others; distribution of the information via the city's website; direct communication with interested community members via email, telephone, and in-person meetings; adoption hearings with the Planning Commission and the City Council. The overarching objectives of this effort are to identify and evaluate the current and future needs of Gold Beach residents, prepare and adopt comprehensive plan policies that will help address those housing needs, identify and adopt amendments to the Gold Beach zoning ordinance that will result in the following outcomes: reduced housing production costs, a more efficient land use permitting process, and facilitation of housing choices favorable to the modest financial needs of many Gold Beach families and individuals. Proposed amendments to the Gold Beach zoning ordinance include the following. And as we had discussed at the last meeting, and we've discussed all along, but at the last meeting, only certain portions of the zoning code are being amended, and those were outlined in different colors. So it's not the whole code. So these are the sections that are being amended. Section 1.030 definitions, Section 2.010 to 2.075, the new overarching residential zone. This section will replace all other existing residential zoning designations. Section 3.040, accessory dwelling units. Section 3.045, manufactured homes in the residential zone. A new chapter, Article 9, actually Article 11, right? 10.1, yeah, 11. Application review procedures. Addition of comprehensive plan and map amendments, including process and criteria, and conforming edits in other sections to reference updated section definitions in Section 1.030 and procedures in Article 11. And when we say that conforming edits, it's just like where we changed a definition, the contractors went through the code and found like everywhere that was mentioned so that it was changed. So that's the end of the boring legal stuff that I had to do.
Thank you.
And I forgot to mention it, but the public hearing portion of it approximately 6:20.
Okay.
With that, is there any members of the public in the room that would like to speak? Don't jump up all at once. Okay, then Ms. Popoff, can you allow her to speak? You followed us originally as a planning commission member and then have kind of stuck with us on this process. Do you have any public comments you'd like to make?
No, it's all good.
If you were still on the planning commission, would you recommend?
I'm sorry.
If you were still on the planning commission, would you recommend these changes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak? It looks like everybody's online, so you could raise your hand. Mr. Vieira might have something. Somebody allow him to speak?
I sent him the unmute thing.
Okay. Mr. Vieira, if you are there, we've sent you the unmute if you'd like to speak to this housing advancement project.
Apologies.
There he is.
No, it's looking good. As a developer, I can see some properties that are gaining traction in what they could become versus what they are now. The only comments I would have, because I was able to spend a little bit more time with the rain to really pick through it, is to be open to some changes to the nuances of certain development types. The key one currently would be the cottage cluster definitions, specifically around those items, arrangement requirements. I think our area would do immensely with smaller units. Obviously, I believe that's the major opinion of everyone. And there's some key aspects to it that add importance to things such as ADA accessibility, like the 4-foot sidewalks, and merits like that. However, being so aggressively defined in things like the orientation of the parking might be some objects that would, in the future, limit properties that would likely best be served in that form, if that makes sense.
One of the pages I did not mark.
31,
31?
cottage clusters.
Yeah, there's a whole description of what a cottage cluster is and drawing and division.
It's located on, oh God. Now I have to find it. 'cause I
I'm
didn't
seeing it
have
on
part
page
there,
31.
Of course.
If you look at the very bottom, where it says page of 100.
Oh, 47,
Yeah,
thank you.
62, I think, is where they're describing it. Development standard for cottage clusters, section 2.070, page 62, I believe. So it says a single cottage cluster shall maintain a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 12. Is that one of the sections you're talking about? Or are you talking about the section where it talks about 1,400 square feet?
I think on page
Yes.
47 with the parking and everything.
And now I'm not seeing it just scrolling through, but there was a note on there that had parking requirements placing it towards the far back, I believe. In that it was kind of like an importance to not have parking visible from the front of the development. And maybe I've opened up an older iteration that had been partially altered or something of that nature. But the spirit, I guess, of that concern is just, there's a lot of work that went in here, but obviously, if there are things that we find not working for our area or as limitations, to be open and ready to work around those objects when they're simple items such as the location of overflow parking being street side versus non-street side.
So are you just talking about the parking portion or the,
Mr. Hasty just said, I think he's talking about the parking design sections. You could potentially tweak those later.
Yes, Mr. Hastings said, and I still can't find my page for it.
Page 47. That's not bad. Yeah, it's in there twice.
47 is definitions? Or are you talking 47 on the bottom or 47 on the actual? You're not looking at the PDF. So you're looking
Oh, no.
at,
I have page 31 or I have page 47 on the top. November 7th, 2022, hearing staff report, page 47 of 199, but it's also, when it's reprinted, on page 160. What?
there's a lot of page numbers.
I know, I'm sorry.
For the PDF, it looks like it would be page 65.
Looking at.
And Mr. Hasty said, yes, page 47 at the top. So,
Thank you, Mr. Hasty.
All right, once we all get on the same page, we can make sure we understand what's being described. Okay, so,
it looks like maybe 65 of the PDF, Mayor.
yeah, so it's the parking design, figure 2.070, off-street parking may be provided in individual cottages or arranged in clustered for shared parking. So it's got specific requirements, at least 4 feet of landscaping. Mr. Vieira, is there something specific in there you would like changed, or?
Things like the off-street parking spaces shall not be located within 20 feet from any street property line, except alley property lines. The wording on that just concerns me with the way that limits a piece of property to be designed as a cottage structure, because now you need enough space for really two-way traffic, or, I mean, you can have a wraparound driveway, which would probably merit that better to have the parking towards the backside. But a lot of our property spaces aren't going to be perfectly square features. And when you start looking at some of the items in the cityscape, the parking being towards the front of the property, it has its merits and it has its demerits. Obviously, being close to the front, if it allows the property to be developed at a higher density, I would rather see that, because that's currently our issue. But I understand that things like placing the parking to the back for overflow helps prevent stragglers from parking in those spaces, and that it makes it a little bit more private to that development.
Thank you also for your consideration of ADA parking. Appreciate that.
I think the ADA parking would come in from state standard, wouldn't it?
That's, that's
The
it.
sidewalk width is what he was talking about.
Yeah, there's a piece in there about ensuring 4-foot sidewalks, and that it's hard surfaced, I believe, for pedestrian paths. Which obviously we're looking at community clusters or cottage clusters like that would be pretty high demand for our senior population, and by definition, mobility issues tend to increase in that population.
I think that's why it's saying a minimum of 4 feet.
Right. But mainly it was just the location requirements for parking. They were just, I felt a little too stringent, I suppose, would be my piece on that. Outside of that, I have nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hasty, I think because we have so few people giving comments, can we address some of this right now? I understand what Mr. Vieira is saying, we don't have flat ground, so this is kind of a model ordinance.
It is. I mean, I think what I heard is that this is a potential concern, but not like a deal-breaking concern, and it's a potential thing to look at in terms of what kind of developments you get and potentially tweak the ordinance once you have some experience implementing it or administering it. That's kind of what I don't want to put words into Mr. Pierre's mouth, but I kind of thought that's what I heard. I mean, you certainly could tweak those standards, reduce that 20 feet to something else. It just, it's hard to kind of come in when we're at this stage in the process and make those changes on the fly without doing a little more thinking about it. And my suggestion would be, see how it goes, see if that's actually a problem or an issue when somebody comes along with the development, allow for a variance, which you can do down the line, and then if it does seem to be more of a systematic problem, look at some changes. I always kind of think that's a good approach in any circumstances, so.
That's a great.
That's what I would suggest, but, you know, again, I think if you wanted to make a quick change, it would maybe be just reducing the 20 feet to 10. And it is about balancing kind of the location of parking vis-a-vis adjacent properties versus kind of maximizing the efficiency of development of the site.
So do we have an allowance for a variance, or staff or plan commission or council review of this
You
to say?
generally do within, you generally do within your development code. That was actually one of the things we made some tweaks to in terms of your procedural requirements.
So Administrator Fritz, as our most experienced planner in Gold Beach, would you have the flexibility with this new ordinance if somebody came up with something that was 80% this design and still worked, would you have the flexibility to do that the way it's written, you think?
I believe so, yeah, and especially now that we're going to be changing some of the procedural stuff. You know, if it's a deal breaker, that's kind of my threshold. If it's going to be a deal breaker, then obviously we want to try to encourage development. So what can we do to help get to some version of yes?
Right. Okay. Good input. We have a new person online by the name of Eric. Eric, we're in a public hearing on our housing advancement project. Did you want to say anything? I don't have any access, so I can't.
I know, I told it to
Yeah.
let
It's
you in
muted.
today.
Ooh,
Okay,
you
you should be
unmuted.
unmuted now.
Did you want to say anything tonight?
Related to the HAP.
I'm sorry, I don't know your last name because it just says Eric. I usually would address you by your last name.
No, I'm just listening if you can hear me.
Oh, good. Yes, thank you. We can hear you now.
Thank you for asking.
You betcha. Okay, is there anybody else that wanted to speak to this? If not, I will go to the planning commission and then loop around to the council. And which of the two of you would like to start?
Ma'am, can you just interrupt? Do you want to talk about the definition changes before we go too far? Or
Yes.
Okay, so just real quickly.
Thank you.
And I think I'm going to start with Councilor Skinner's proposed changes, and then we'll go to Commissioner Myers after that, so then that way you can fill in the blanks a little bit. Okay, so two proposed changes to the definitions. For Councilor Skinner felt like our current definition was kind of outdated. Okay, on both counts, for a couple of different reasons. So I spoke with her today, spoke with the mayor, went through, made some changes. I think it actually works better, and I will explain why. So I gave you copies of all of this stuff. I went to look at how DLCD defines accessory dwelling unit, because they're the state agency, state planning agency. And they refer to the document, I just included the last page of it, I didn't want to give you the whole thing, but the guidance on implementing the accessory dwelling unit requirement under Oregon Senate Bill 1051 and updated to include House Bill 2001 in 2019. And it had a definition in there, and it says, as defined in ORS 197.312, an interior attached or detached residential structure that is used in connection with or that is accessory to a single-family dwelling. Now, I included page 7 of that document for you, and it basically says this should be included in the definition section of the zoning ordinance. It matches the definition for accessory dwelling unit found in ORS 197.312. And traditionally we try to keep our definitions the same as the state's. That way everybody knows what they're dealing with. I kept one sentence from our current one. An ADU is independently habitable and provides the basic requirements of shelter, heating, cooking, water, and sanitary sewer. And then we had talked a lot about the sizing, and I don't know that we ever formally said it, so I put it in there. ADUs are 1,000 square feet or less in size. So taking out the one that is on page, and of course there's all these numbers. I tried to number it where you could see it, and I actually screwed myself up. I should have put it lower. But page, yeah, it says in there, see page 23 of the staff report, which is the number on top, or page 7 of 116, and I can't read the total of the 394, I'm sorry. So scratching that whole accessory dwelling unit definition and inserting this one. And then not related to the work that we were doing, but just as Councilor Skinner was going through the code itself, in the commercial zone, which we are not amending, it's just the definition related to medical. Our current definition for sub-item 3, that's an outright use in that zone, is hospital, sanitarium, retirement home, medical, or dental clinic. Again, the thought was that these are kind of, some of those terms are kind of outdated. So then what I did was I kept medical or dental clinic, but then I went to see the Oregon Health Authority and the Department of Human Services are the ones that regulate medical facilities in the state of Oregon. So what I did was I said acute and continuing care facilities regulated by the Oregon Health Authority and long-term care facilities regulated by the Oregon Department of Human Services. That way it covers everything. We don't have to call the hospital out. We don't have to call out, mental health, nothing. It's just, if it's regulated by those two agencies, medically, it's allowed in the commercial zone. So those were the two changes for definitions. And then going to Commissioner Myers, this would be where I gave you the little key about skip this, read that, skip this, read that. This would be in your key where I said to read pages 222 to 225. That was information from Commissioner Myers about stormwater and lot coverage. And we met earlier today and we talked a lot about the stormwater stuff that's not in the zoning code, it's in the erosion and stormwater ordinance, which is a separate ordinance, just like the flood damage ordinance is a separate ordinance, land division ordinance, separate ordinance, all related to zoning, but not, So we kind of came to a consensus of how to deal with it at this time. Yeah, at this time. And so she had concerns about what the definition currently is right now for lot coverage. And so I've revised that to what it currently says right now is that percentage of a total lot area which, when viewed directly from above, which would be like bird's eye view, would be covered by a building or a structure. So what I've done is I've expanded on that and made it a little more related to one of the other definitions in the code, which was net acreage. So that percentage of the total gross acreage, which when viewed from above would be impervious surfaces such as a building or structure, paved driveways, sidewalks, or other similar non-pervious surfaces. So it just kind of expands on what lot coverage is. And then I believe that now I'm going to go back to you, Mayor. I believe now that Commissioner Myers wanted to kind of expand a little bit on what she's hoping to achieve tonight.
So I don't know if it's the right time to mention this, but I'm prepared to recommend with one caveat. The lot coverage, and I appreciate Mr. Hasty's input on this earlier, but I feel that the lot coverage needs to be reexamined when we have some more information. Right now, we're looking at 65 to 75%. I have some information that indicates that it should be quite a bit less than that if we don't want to create situations where we're going to actually create a more expensive development because people will have to keep the stormwater and the pollutants on their property and not allow it on another property. And I'm just not sure that it's possible to do that without a very expensive investment, like, you know, an underground swimming pool to hold all the water or something. So I think we are hoping that we can sort of agree to revisit this, even though we've approved the rest of the proposal.
Administrator Fritz?
And when we were talking, Commissioner Myers and I, that I said that you are very good about when somebody wants to revisit something, that goes on our list of things to do. So this isn't something that's going to be forgotten about. So I'll put that on our next agenda meeting for when we want to start talking about that. And I would say it would be revisiting the erosion and stormwater ordinance.
So that part we could.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I, again, want to repeat that I think that the 75% needs to be revisited.
Okay, yes.
In the zoning code?
Yes.
So
Because-
revisit the lot coverage and then also
The lot coverage.
stormwater and
Both of
erosion
them,
control
yeah.
ordinance.
Because, again, if we lead a developer to think that they're going to be able to cover 75% of a lot, but really it's not feasible, I think that is misleading, so.
Yeah, I think you're right, depending on the property.
Yeah, I mean,
Where-
some properties will be able to mitigate it without a lot of extra expense. Other properties, it will be very difficult, and,
Yeah, because some properties, they just need to get down to the gravel, and they're good, because we're built on a river delta. And then other properties, they
there-
have to put
and
it in.
a lot of our properties don't have gravel.
I know, and then the other ones that have clay would have to have a really fancy system. So you're right, it might mean that they're never even going to consider that much. Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm
Commissioner?
very happy with the rest of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore?
I'm good.
You're good?
I am.
Okay. Counselor Vanessa?
Oh, I have nothing. I think this is great, and actually, I think the proposed definition changes just make it even better. But I do agree that if there are some discussions to be had with regards to the 75%, I think we're better in the long run if we keep that in mind.
Bless you. Counselor Bradley?
Aye.
Jim Boyce Bradley.
Jim voice, okay. I think we're going on the right path. One thing I did see from the letter we got from the HLA and the FHCO, I think they bring some good points. I don't know what those data points we need to collect to make sure that we don't have unintended consequences. So I think as we go through with this, if we pass it, that we should kind of set it aside in like 12 months to take a look and make sure what we pass is doing as intended. Because for our little town, it's a big change. And I think it'd be smart of us in a year from now to sit down, make sure it's doing what we want it to do, and if needed, make changes.
Yep, I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Pagano has been recording all of our developments, so that should be, maybe we'll see a spike or a drop, or hopefully it's back.
There's some things that we go on that we may not have a choice in with.
Okay. Councilor Martinez?
I just simply want to say I am grateful for all the work that everyone's put into this, including the councilors on the planning committee, Mr. Matt Hasty, and all my fellow councilors. I'm very happy to be part of such an initiative. That wasn't Jim voice.
The people in the audience can't hear you if you don't use Jim Boyce.
I'm just very grateful for all the work that people have put into this. Thank you.
Councilor Scanlon?
Well, the mayor did not read this letter from the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. I will not read the entire letter, but I will read that the short order.
You should just read the whole thing.
I really should. Both the HLA and the FHCO commend the city and support the adoption of HAP 2022. And then they conclude with, we believe that this measure will be an example for communities across Oregon in how to meaningfully increase housing opportunity for all. And I too appreciate the work that everybody's done and the people who've shared their public testimony and the people who have volunteered their time to serve on the Planning Commission and the people who volunteered their time to make sure people who weren't here got to see the videos. So thank you. And thank you, Mayor Kaufman, for helping lead this effort over. This has been a very long process. Thank you.
Okay, well, it has been a long process, and I too am gratified with all the work that's been done, and grateful to Mr. Hastings for all of his time, and to everyone who has devoted a great deal of time to this. However, in sitting here at this meeting, in this very short period of time, we came up to 2 caveats with this. One had to do with cluster housing and parking and accessibility and the sidewalks, and then the other one with the lot sizes and building sizes and usage of the 75% of the land. So I think that my only caveat is that we make sure that we haven't cast anything in stone, so that when things don't work or they do need to be changes, it's not an onerous process. All I have to say, other than that, wow, you guys, just wow.
Okay, Mr. Hasty made a comment that thumbs up on the definition changes. Is everybody okay with the definition changes? Okay. All right, so last call for the public comment. Okay, I am going to close the public hearing at 7:56, 6:56. For those of you who don't know, I can't read a regular clock. It's not the clock's fault. Okay, now, the next step in this process is for the Planning Commission to recommend or not recommend that we pass this. So I'm going to make you the vice chair, so you lead your group.
Would we like to recommend this? The planning commission says yes, we would.
Is that good enough? Administrator
Okay, then
Briggs?
did you want to put it
Do you have that?
subject to revisiting that
Yes,
section?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
okay. So recommendation, and I have it written down, where did I put it? Approve, subject to revisiting the lot coverage and the storm and erosion control work. That's the,
As amended, right?
and then the definitions as amended. Yep.
I think they need to make a motion in a second, don't they?
Yes, so
So you
what I
make a
just said,
motion
you
in a
could
second.
say,
I move what she said.
yeah.
I second.
Okay, you want to read it back so they can vote?
Okay, so approve, subject to revisiting the 75% lot coverage and the erosion and stormwater ordinance and the proposed definition changes.
Could we just revise that, it's like 65 to 75, there's a couple of different ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's your motion, and so then, Mayor, I don't know if you want to call the question.
Question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, they passed unanimously.
Okay.
And for the record, there are 3 planning commission members, 2 of the 3 are present. All right, thank you very much. This has been a lot of reading, huh? Okay, next is we have ordinances and resolutions. And ordinance number 683 is actually the implementation document of what we've been talking about. And believe it or not, we have to open a public hearing to do an ordinance. So I'm opening the public hearing at 7 PM for the ordinance number 683.
Yeah, it's just for the ordinance, not for the stuff that we had just discussed.
Anybody like to speak to the ordinance in the audience? Anybody online?
Somebody's in the chat, hold on. Nope, I don't see him.
Okay, I'll leave it open at least a minute. So I'm waiting for my timer. So the ordinance number 683 will be amended to include these changes. Those of you that saw the definitions that Administrator Fritz mentioned, and I guess they're all kind of definitions. Having to do with lot coverage and accessory dwelling units and medical and dental and that kind of thing. And we will close the public hearing at 7:01 because we still see no hands. And now for the council, would anybody like to make a motion? And the staff recommendation is,
I'm trying to find the page, I believe it's on,
okay, so it's page 11.
actually, I think it's at the beginning,
11 of
sorry.
394.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, technically, it's on page 12.
It's at the very beginning of the document where the agenda report had said there's 3 different things that we're going to discuss tonight. So it would be agenda item 5, and on page 12 of the packet has a sample motion.
Please add as amended,
Yes, please add as amended.
unless you intend to.
In that case, I move that the city council adopt ordinance number 683 as amended, an ordinance adopting a revised land use code and repealing and replacing ordinance number 634 with the first reading tonight by title only.
I will second.
We have a motion by Councilor McGilvery, seconded by Councilor Bradley. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. Councilor Madison starts.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so now I need to read the first reading by title only into the record. This is ordinance number 683, an ordinance adopting a revised land use zoning code and repealing and replacing ordinance number 634. First reading. Second reading will be at the December meeting.
Okay.
Whew.
All
So
those
you
votes
ladies
will
can
start
go
with
unless you want to
Commissioner.
hang out and see how we do the rest of the stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Hasty. You've been extremely patient with us.
My pleasure, thank you.
Woohoo!
Yeah, work.
You don't have to fiddle with me a couple times a month.
Yeah, it's very, very gratifying.
You're
Yes,
welcome to come down and see it and see what we're doing down here.
I would love to do that. Yeah, I have some, in addition to all of you, I have some friends that live down there.
Okay, cool.
I do, I own them, and you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy and Rebecca. You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you.
Okay, I believe we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to pause the recordings.
Celebration?
I have
So we
a
only
question,
have hot mics.
Come back at 7.
Check and see if it sent you a message.
So that they're dragged out of the.
It's so hard on this.
There we go. Look at Morgan. Morgan, you know, it's on the thing.
Do what
There you go.
Victor does.
Yeah.
So there we go.
I found your people experience do it.
Oh, yes. It's not the, well, he mentioned something about speed limits around the street. More identifiable than speed limit signs or
And the flashing crosswalk.
flashing lights.
Could we please?
It's-
And I'd like to see it on the sidewalk, so that the sidewalk is flashing. Oh, we just haven't did it in a big enough town, but yeah, it makes them. And there are some of them
I guess that'd be
that
good
are
idea.
due to,
Probably.
See that? I, thank you so much.
Good thing, thanks for keeping track of
This
the summer.
is
Look at
a
that,
dedication.
everything.
I twice got calls from teachers.
Nice. You go to dinner?
It'll be a little bit strict.
Yeah, well,
I heard that.
it's almost bedtime,
Yeah.
so we
Well,
went
no,
before
one
the
at
meeting.
school.
perfect.
The locker room.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
supposed to.
Gate.
What? Every physical week has to be
They
closed
had,
Monday and Tuesday.
they had one just.
Every restaurant.
Okay,
obnoxious.
They're getting drinks.
I'm listening, excuse me.
Morgan had put in the chat,
Straighten it
he
right up.
wanted to know
They
what
want-
time
they
to
said,
bring
hey,
something, and I said,
It's
"Okay."
close
Well,
to
the
the thing
minutes-
else.
The
We're
only
both
one.
reliable.
His name,
Only one, I think.
not listening to me, he's.
I
What else?
don't
It's
think
close
it
to-
might be.
Huh?
What's coming up?
Uh,
You can pick up your own.
Thank you. I am grateful for some of
we have, the continuation of this appeal from last month.
that I found is their.
Local government investment pool, which is kind of just a housekeeping kind of thing, consent calendar housekeeping. The Oregon, that's the, okay, that's our,
No, I've got.
10 minutes.
I've got
The
one
Oregon
that
Mayor's
I'm doing this work
Association,
right now. Sue's
had sent us a
his
letter
parents are friends and his grades
to
are
support
E's
this,
with
like a
E's.
statewide homelessness
And I said, hey,
emergency
he showed me
process,
about
like
the
coordinated
phone. Have him
statewide.
take- send me
And
screenshots
so,
on Monday.
That's
We might be out of
coming up.
season, but it
And
might
then the monthly
just be
updates,
different
those are
coming
It
kind
might
of
come
more
from
just
a different
housekeeping.
grown up.
Mhm.
But I think you've been here for
Coach
other
instead of
homeless
mom
stuff,
and dad.
Someday
right?
I'll tell you
Okay.
the story that I got.
So,
I'll stick around for that one.
You know.
I think it was, I think it would be a good
That's
one.
what I was telling my kids too.
And
If you're
I have a
doing
pack,
art
I think I have an
here,
extra
you
packet
better
if
be
you want to
moving
read the
the
letter.
way that I expect you
Huh?
to. And I called somebody else.
Edit me out, yeah, sorry.
Say, oh, if you're in Jersey.
If you are, yeah, if you're promoting us, you're promoting us.
That's what's left of the agenda.
Get the recording back on. Oh, I guess I could.
I don't know if you can do it from that.
Recording in progress.
Okay, you got the little one? Okay, we are back in session, and our next agenda item is a continuation from last month. It's a request to appeal a monthly sewer maintenance charge, and we reviewed some legal information from our attorney, and in the council packet is some summary of the part that we were allowed to share publicly. And that is on page 345 of 394 of our packet. Never thought I'd ever say that for one of our packets.
And then there was also some information that Mr. Vieira submitted that I put at each council person's spot. And then the attorney also replied back to that.
And his comments were in red, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Vieira's comments were.
Okay, is the council ready to make a decision?
I'm willing to make a motion. I make a motion to affirm the attorney's interpretation of the code and recommend authorizing a waiver of the late fees from the date of the appeal until 30 days after this decision is written. So again, just to affirm the attorney's interpretation of the code, and recommend authorizing a waiver of late fees from the date of the appeal until 30 days after.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Councilor Madison?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Mr. Vieira, since you're still on, our staff will put that in writing to you and send it to you in the mail, and then you'll have up to 30 days without a late fee to pay that. Thank you for bringing it up. As a result of this, we are going to be revamping that part of the code to make it more clear, so that you don't have to read 45 documents to, and I do exaggerate, to understand the code. Okay, with that, I'd like to interject that our new student liaison, Mr. Zinn, would like to bring up something. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I was bringing up the idea of possibly having better posted speed limits in front of the school, or maybe a let-up sidewalk in between the high school and the coastal cups. It's a very used crosswalk, and I often see a lot of people speeding through the school zone. And I think maybe having one of those two would solve the issue, or at least mitigate it a little bit.
Thank you. I believe Administrator Fritz will have an update on that.
Well, Mr. Zen, those are excellent suggestions. Unfortunately, Ellensburg Avenue is actually Highway 101, and so the city has very little control over what happens there. But we will certainly pass those suggestions on to ODOT. I know that we have discussed recently about some things that the city and ODOT can partner on. So maybe that's one of the things that we could partner with ODOT, and because we do know that that's the crosswalk there and by the fairgrounds are both areas of concerns for the city as well. But good catch there, and that's a great suggestion.
Do you have any staff member that might be helping with that?
When I say we, I mean him.
This might be a good time to announce that you hired another person. Or not?
Hired another person?
Or maybe you didn't. Okay.
You can introduce Anthony to Morgan though. I don't think he got an introduction.
Oh, yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, Morgan, my assistant, Anthony Pagano, we will, he has been in touch with the ODOT recently about stuff related to 101, so we will have Anthony pass that along to ODOT.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a resolution 2223, authorizing account with the state local government investment pool.
And Mayor, just real quickly, the new auditors, and when I say new, I call it fired, but that's not really what it is, but our prior auditors had decided, they had been our auditors for the past 2 years. We had gotten them because our auditors that we'd had for the last like 6 or 7 years, he retired, sold his business, Marine and Company bought his business. Well, Marine and Company in May decided as a company that they were no longer going to be doing municipal audits. Just they're focusing their stuff. So all of Marina's clients, which there was a significant amount, were then scrambling to try to find auditors. So it was a heinous process, but we were able to find somebody officially in October. They're out of Roseburg, and they were here this week, last week on Tuesday and Wednesday to do what's called the field work portion of it. And several of my staff members thought that was the end, and it's like, no, that's just the hideous beginning. They come here and do the field work, and then they go away, and for about the next 6 to 8 weeks, they send me emails every day asking me to send more stuff. So no, that's just the beginning of my nightmare. But anyway, when, I can't remember his last name, so Steve the auditor. When Steve the auditor left, one of the things that he caught that he said, I really think you need to talk to your council about this, and I said, well, that's good because we're having a meeting on Monday, is the city doesn't participate in what's called the local government investment pool. I don't know why that is. As long as I've been here, we haven't. The mayor said that way back when, we evidently did. But he strongly urged us to participate in it because right now the investment rates are substantially higher than what we can get with our money market account at the bank right now. So in order to do that, this council has to adopt a resolution authorizing us to participate in the local government investment pool. And then I put in the packet just a copy. It's just this little one-page thing, that's all it is. And then we have an account with them. So that's the background on that.
You know, it might be wrong. It might have been the county's investment pool we used to partner with. Because they used to do better than the state. But then all of a sudden they went into some CDs and some other things, and I was on the council then. Okay. So any questions about the resolution? Councilor Skinner.
2, one, what is the time allotment for getting the money out? I kind of get the...
That's one of the things that he said, the nice thing about it is it's basically overnight.
Oh.
So just like how banking overnight. You know, like if
Yeah.
if we want to transfer money back to our checking account, it just takes basically like 24 hours. So we have instant access to it. They do have another level, but I'm not proposing that one right now, where it's like they have a longer term investment where they keep
More
it
like
for.
a CD maybe, kind of more like that. There's a set number of years.
Yeah, well, and I think it's actually months, because
Oh.
it's still, the whole idea of the local government investment pool is liquidity.
Yeah.
But they do, like, this account, you can have it next day, but the other account, I can't remember what the name of it is, they keep it for like 6 months, something like that. But that's not what I'm asking for
Not
tonight.
right now. So that's just one question. There you go.
Anybody else? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Jim Boyce, please.
I make the motion that the council will adopt resolution R 2223-03, a resolution authorizing the city to participate in the state local government investment pool.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Madison, seconded by Councilor Bradley. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Councilor Madison?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much for that.
Next up is consent calendar. Any questions? Anything you want to move off the consent calendar? Or is there a motion to adopt it?
I make a motion to adopt the consent calendar
As presented?
as presented. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor from Councilor Martinez and seconded by Councilor Madison to adopt the consent calendar. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Councilor Madison?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up is the Oregon Mayors Association formed a pretty large group of mayors to come up with some solutions for homeless issues. And they came up with a recommendation for the state legislature to allot funds to cities based on their size. The city of Gold Beach would get about $95,000, and they're asking us to make a decision if we want to support the League of Oregon Cities and the Oregon Mayors Association recommendation to do that.
Mayor.
Yes.
At the Newport conference for the League of Oregon Cities on homelessness, they brought this to our attention, and various cities there at the table were sharing ideas of what they were already working on. It sounded to me like a really good strategic plan for the municipalities to be interacting with the state legislature, and I strongly support that based on my experience at the meeting. It sounds like the League of Oregon Cities has a really good plan in place to help cities address this crisis.
And Administrator Fritz, this email from Angela Spear, is that what we were talking about?
Yes, that
There was
came this morning,
I
and
appreciate this, starts with an email, says Jody Fritz on top.
it's from Angela Spear. On Tuesday, October 18th, I sent you an email asking if you'd like to partner with the LOC and Oregon mayors in support of two separate yet parallel budget proposals. I don't remember the two things, I just remember them asking us to support the letter. But anyway, OMA is proposing a direct allocation, and this is just they're proposing to the legislature, a direct allocation of funding from the state to each incorporated city in Oregon for cities to use in their homelessness response and prevention. It is proposed that each city will be allocated funds in the amount equal to $40 per resident in accordance with the last official population estimates from PSU. The proposal requires that in no instance will an incorporated city receive less than $50,000. OMA's proposal provides cities the ability to elect to use the funds for their homelessness response and prevention services, or to redirect their funds to community partners who are required to use the funds for that. And so then it goes on to explain what some of those could be. So on the second page, in addition to the direct allocation, the proposal requires a meaningful allocation from the state for coordinated capital construction investments for specific shelter and transitional housing projects statewide. The OMA Homelessness Task Force and OMA Board of Directors seek the support of Oregon's 241 cities for the above described proposal in an effort to present the legislator and Oregon's next governor with a truly coordinated and collaborative proposal. So, and then it goes on a little bit more. So that's related to the request in the packet.
And that was the thing that impressed me at that meeting, was that all the cities with all of their different needs were coming together around this idea of talking together to the state, which I thought was probably a productive approach. Instead of each city going and saying, big cities need this, small cities need this, that everybody's working together.
And then obviously a copy of the letter, the OMA letter that they're talking about is in the packet. And in case you were wondering, I put the information in there about the indestructible loop. I would like to ask for that, but
Do you know how much they are?
a lot, because I looked into them a couple of years ago, but I think we should still ask. You can throw it in there, and if we get it, great. If we don't, we don't.
Well, if it's more than what they would give us, maybe we could use that for leverage to get more, a grant or something.
Right.
Otherwise, they're just gonna keep tearing apart.
And I put an article in there that Medford well, it wasn't Medford that did it, it was I think the Transportation District. I don't know how many they installed, but that's a picture of them doing the installation.
Yeah, the article said it was the city of Medford, their department, and their URA, original. It was a partnership. It sure does look interesting.
Well, yeah. And I had seen them.
Getting destroyed.
And I'm already on the record as
I don't know who's doing it, but we don't put cameras in toilets, so. It's the only way you can tell who's breaking the porcelain.
I'm already on record for supporting public restrooms, so I like that idea of proposing that our capital project would be a public restroom.
It looks like they want a letter from us that says what projects we would support, so that's, I think, why she was suggesting that. So
Yeah,
if
that
you-
was my understanding too.
So I think I'll go around, do a round robin with all of you and let me know if you like the idea of us supporting it as a group. And then if you like the suggestion of the bomb proof restroom, probably have to come up with a better name than that.
Indestructible loop.
Would you like to start, Councilor Madison?
Sure. So, I do like the idea of the restroom, albeit it sounds like there will be allocations coming in annually. And I would like to see a community resource officer investment and possibly some outreach worker discussion. I know that's been a great service in Brookings, but I would like to point out in the memorandum, in the first paragraph, the last statement says local government leaders have developed a solution to Oregon's crisis of the unhoused. I don't believe that this is a solution that's been developed to address that. I mean, it's to help mitigate, but it's not a solution to the crisis of unhoused. So I want to make that clear.
Okay, so it was community resource officer, what's this, the other thing?
The outreach workers,
Outreach.
like the Whitebird Clinic.
I didn't write fast enough.
I'm wondering too, like with this support, is there projectables that will be delivered upon? You know, is there an idea or a vision to come back together every 3 to 6 months and discuss who's making the greatest impact with those resources and who's benefiting from one versus the other?
I don't have a direct answer to that question, but I'm pretty sure the task force is going to be monitoring that. But I don't know that for sure, but I think the intent is to keep them going.
Do we know?
Because it affects everybody.
Do we know who in our region or our district is participating as a mayor?
I know Mayor Engelke is.
Okay. Even if she's not voted in for this next term?
I don't know what happens if she's not reelected.
Let's just leave she is.
I was really surprised how many mayors only have a 2-year term, so they're constantly running. Boy, am I lucky.
Counselor Madsen, where in the memorandum are you seeing that line?
Right, first page.
It's
Thirty.
memorandum, page
Last
one,
sentence is the
first paragraph, last
Solutions. Leaders of development.
Oh, I wonder if they're meaning like one, so like one, yeah, that is poorly written.
Yeah, it probably should have been a solution of many solutions. Because you're right, it's not going to solve the complete problem.
Has developed
Certainly
a,
doesn't.
Good point.
Good
Middle
catch.
Shoreland is not going to solve
Develop-
issues.
developed a strategy to address, maybe? Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah, I think too, if we wanted to dissect that, I just don't want anybody to think, just vote yes because it's gonna fix the problem. It's not going to. Second paragraph says, the OMA Homelessness Task Force plan to humanely and timely address the homelessness crisis in Oregon is a partnership between the state of Oregon and its 241 cities. So I'll be very interested to see the deliverables from that task force and what their plan is to address that humanely and timely.
Well, Administrator Fritz, the budget was a package that includes direct allocations for cities for homeless response and prevention. And number 2 was a budget package that provides capital improvement funding for cities. So that's.
Right, but I think the letter that they sent me, because they said, we sent you an email, the email said, we need you to support this letter. It didn't, so that was kind of what confused me, but I see in the letter that they have the 2 things.
But they're not asking us to support either or, right?
No.
No, it's
Okay.
just support do we want to sign on and be supportive of this letter?
Okay. Councilor Bradley?
Yeah, I do. I think we should sign on in support of it because we need to, as a city, be able to address our legislature, who they're the ones initially who make the laws that we have to comply to. And being involved in this gives us a voice back to try to make sure that we can prevent bad legislation or at least have a say in the matter of legislation that comes down the pipeline. It affects us directly. The legislature sits behind their cozy little homes and looks to get reelected.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilor Martinez?
This is, it seems promising. And I'm grateful for Councilor Madsen to draw notice to the words chosen. But I see this moving in a good direction. We're going to need help. And we'll need collaboration amongst other governments. I mean, that's kind of the name of it sounds promising to gather input from other governments of similar towns and with similar needs and challenges to help ourselves. And thank you, Councilor Bradley, for bringing up the idea that this may be necessary for us to have input and to bring attention to our needs, to the broader government. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Scott?
I was rereading again the statement on page 377, and I believe if I put my teacher glasses on, the thesis is that they've developed a solution, but the solution is in the second paragraph, that this partnership between the 241 cities and the state of Oregon is the solution. The partnership that will allow for the establishment and expansion of local, community-based responses that provide immediate shelter needed services, secure safety for unhoused Oregonians. I think that's the solution that they're referencing at the end of that first paragraph. I think the idea of the state and all of those cities working together to come up with the community-based responses. I think that's this one they're referencing in that first paragraph. With that in mind, I think we should support this letter, and I like the idea of proposing the public bathroom, because that's something we are in need of.
Okay, Councilor McGilvery.
Okay, a couple of thoughts about this. They give us in this letter, they give us, the OMA's proposal gives us a laundry list of things that we can use the money for. And a lot of them, I can see $95,000 disappearing without ever actually helping someone who is on the street. You know, in manner of abatement and cleanup and environmental mitigation and all of these other things that have not actually helped this person who's sleeping in a doorway. You know, we haven't actually addressed that. So I have some pretty strong feelings about this being so general and so many ancillary things that the money can be used for without actually doing something for the guy sleeping in the doorway, or something for the elderly woman that has nothing but a shopping cart. You know, and I think they're missing some of the things that need to be done. Yes, it'd be lovely to have $95,000 allocated to us. And the question is, and that's annually, and that's nice too. But for how long is annually? And I think this needs more work before I could actually support it wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you. I know we're going to be doing more work locally on what we can do to deal with Martin v. Boise, the federal problem and the court case, and then the HB 3115 that's coming down the pike. And I think you already put on your calendars the November 30th date that we're going to deal with that. And I don't know if you guys can attend. We're going to split it probably into 2 sessions. If you can come to at least one of those, that'd be great. But the goal of that is to get input from the community about, here's our problem, here are some possible solutions. Now, you talked about some solutions, and it's going to be in small tables and with a report out. And we're not doing a public outreach and invitations until after the election, because everybody's getting bombarded with postcards and emails about the election, so we need to make sure that that noise is gone. And so I think Wednesday or Thursday, we'll start talking about who to invite. So if you guys know anybody, to invite that. I say that to say that we don't have a specific plan in our town yet, and we are going to have to at least deal with the state mandates that Councilor Bradley was talking about. And this might be a way to help fund the state mandate. And then to Councilor Gilvery's, is there a solution? And I think Councilor Madison's ideas of the community resource officer and the outreach worker are part of that solution.
They are part of that solution. They could suck up the entire amount of money available.
If it was, and the big thing is, I don't think the city is ever going to provide the service itself. I think we're always going to partner with a nonprofit or organization that does that kind of work. Unless the county all of a sudden wants to do it, but I doubt it.
An officer, that would be a city employee.
An officer would probably be a city employee. But if we were going to actually come up with a solution, it's usually done by a nonprofit, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. The Constitution is one of them. So I am in support of it as well. I'm a little confused what they want from us. Do they want us to sign a letter or just vote to be in support?
I think what I got out of what they said was that they want us to have like an official vote and say the city council of Gold Beach is supportive of this effort. And then also, we're supposed to tell them, you know, is there a specific want that we have? And the bomb-proof loo was my specific want.
And they wanted, at that meeting, they wanted the specific items from as many towns as it can get to let the legislators who might not be out there in the field see, this is what people are asking for, this is what this town thinks would make a difference, this would help here. So they wanted as many cities to provide examples to make that stronger so the legislature saw more of what the issues were.
So we could say for the infrastructure part, we want a bomb-proof toilet, we'll come up with a better name. And on
Indestructible loop.
I think they call it indestructible loop.
the indestructible loo, thank you.
And I'll get the prices.
On their prevention services or response, we could talk about a community resource officer. How does that sound?
Those are the things that are specific wants.
Community resource.
Or should we add the outreach worker as well? Should we really go day?
Yeah, go big.
Yeah. Go
Right,
big or go home?
Councilor Madison? Just like shoot for the moon?
Well,
I
yeah.
wonder,
Yes.
we're talking about the indestructible loo. They say hygiene stations. And I'm thinking in terms of a shower.
And they did actually specifically mention that, the gal was saying, like, if your city needs a shower truck, put that down, that you want a shower truck.
I
And
think,
maybe we won't get it, but put it down.
There is
well, we
a,
don't know that we won't get it.
Yeah.
Made that noise yet.
there is a regional effort to provide a shower trailer. The Judith Van Logan Foundation has approved a grant that Stephanie Hadley submitted with Meredith Powell. So that might be an option, that if we provided a space, they might be able to bring it down and, you know, move it between the spaces. Or they're not as expensive as you think they are. So I think they're about $40,000.
There might be an indestructible loo that has a loo on one side and a shower on
But
the other
the
side.
problem is it's not going to be indestructible, so it's going to have supervision.
Right. Well, it would have to be anyway because it's a trailer that you're moving around, so obviously it's going to have to be staffed.
Unless you keep it in one place, because they are set up to be permanent as well.
I have pretty
Right.
extensive research on all of that, if you guys want me to
Great.
send that to Jody, and she can.
That would be awesome.
Cool.
Yes, please.
All right, so I think I
Then I
need
don't
a
have-
motion. You want to take a stab at it, Councilor?
Do we want to, before she makes the motion, do you want to, Councilor Madsen, do the mayor, do the resource officer and the toilets and the outreach, or would the outreach be part of the nonprofit or the county health or the ADAPT that would be there with it? I feel like that employee would not be a city employee.
Correct, that would be a partnership most likely. Because you mentioned the waiver clinic, right? That's the,
Yeah, you know, here's the thing though, I don't necessarily know that we're in a position to articulate that specific,
okay.
where we want to see that funds go. I mean, like Councilor McGillivray mentioned, you know, it sounds to me like she would like to see some kind of shelter and or transitional housing, which is not something we might be able to deliver on in a year, but with the allocations they're projecting here, that could be a couple of years out. But until we really dive into who's in the greatest need, the most emergent, you know, I mean, maybe there's funds here for transportation to, you know, recovery and substance abuse clinics. I don't think I see that here. So, I mean, it just all depends on who we have out there. Is it the workforce? And so the shelter and transitional housing is way more important than, or even the affordable housing more important than abatement and cleanup. In my opinion, the abatement and the cleanup is kind of like a, go ahead and be disrespectful to our environment and we're just going to use people's responsible tax dollars to clean up after you. So I don't want to give that message, but
I think if we can resolve some of the other things, that abatement and cleanup will almost resolve itself. Because once you have provided sanitary facilities that are indestructible, and someplace to take a warm shower, some of the other cleanup issues, and then you move into housing, some of those other cleanup issues are going to be reduced.
I think what I would like to see is if that we're going to invest this kind of money into this kind of effort, that it's foundational and that it's not waiting until it's up here to have to address.
I agree. Thank you.
Administrator Fritz.
Okay, so, they did want, in addition to the direct allocations, this task force proposal requires a meaningful allocation from the state for coordinated capital construction investments for specific shelter and transitional housing projects. So, so I don't know if that's where in my mind, that's where the bomb-proof toilet was coming in. But, so I get what Councilor Madison's saying about, maybe we don't really want to say, we want it this, this, and this, but I think if it's a capital improvement, I think we want to at least throw it out there to them and say, we think it's going to be this much, these toilets cost however much, I need to look up the price, it's been a while since I looked at them, but they're expensive. And then also, we can throw in the shower truck too. I mean, why not? But those are like capital things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
They're also saying then that they're going to put in a good deal of money towards transitional housing for shelters. So that's good.
So we just
Then
need to
we
tonight.
need to look at some of the ancillary things like outreach workers or some kind of staffing, community resource officers. Is that
Which
the
I
same as
don't
an
think that
outreach
you need to
worker?
get that
No.
specific right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
how about we do this? Great ideas, love the input, and I love the fact that we're recognizing that we really don't have a plan. And so, but we've been talking about
Public health.
indestructible loos for a long time, and our park is closed because they broke, somebody, I'm not gonna say they, because it may not have been a homeless person, it may have been just an idiot. And so this would be a solution to that problem, because we're afraid to fix them because they're just gonna get broken again. The last time it was less than a month, I think,
Yep.
that we put new porcelain in and boom, broken. And so we've got the porta potties, and our public does not like those porta potties. And so the loo is something we wanted for a long time. It is gonna be dual purpose. It'll help people that just need to go to the bathroom because they're out of their home, and it'll also help people that don't have a home to go to the bathroom in and keep some of that off of the public areas in which they're being used now.
And then the question is, who maintains the loo? They say you can hose it down, that's great. Who's going to do the hosing?
That would be probably by contract.
Usually we contract that out, yeah. And so,
So-
Councilor Skinner.
I think that starting with the toilet, I sound like a municipal employee. Let's start with water and sewage, okay? I think that starting with the toilet would also help bring the community together and out of some emotions, because it's really hard when people are defecating in places and it's your property. And I think that if we start with addressing that, then we can bring more people to the table to have a conversation on all the other issues that you brought up, Councilor Matson, and that you brought up, Councilor McGilvray. So I'm okay making the motion to support this letter and turn in the capital project of the public toilet and shower trailer, or extended fancy public toilet, or whatever it might be.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion and a second, any discussion?
I'd just like to just add on, basically repeat what you said. It is a great place to start. I use the park quite a bit. I'm on the disc golf park. Having reliable bathroom services will benefit the park. It will just help make the enjoyment more possible for more people. And it will show that we can invest in the most vulnerable in our communities, and it will benefit everybody, at least with that.
So it sounds as though you're pretty determined that this indestructible loom will be placed in the park. That would be the place to put it.
Well, once I see how much the cost is, because it's been a while since, I looked at these a couple of years back when we were first having the problems.
Right.
And I can't remember how much they were. I just remember it's like, this is out of our price range, you know, but maybe if we can get the state to help us, or maybe we can use some of the ARPA money for that. But I'll see what the cost is, and it would be great if we could get two, one at the park and then one somewhere else in town.
Yes.
Like maybe close to the bus shed. But if the cost isn't, you know, too huge, maybe it would be great if we could get two. So.
Super. Good comment.
So we have a motion on the table, and is there any further council discussion? Okay, then I'll call the question. Councilor Bass?
Aye.
Councilor?
Did we get seconded?
What?
Did you get the motion seconded?
Yeah.
Yes. Councilor Redmond.
Aye.
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 Okay, so we have a 5-0. And then I have a follow-up question. Because we are going to be researching the social aspect of it in compliance with HB 315, and Martin v. Boise, do you want to add to the support letter that we are working on figuring out the best solutions? Or do you want to stay silent on that for now?
Ooh. To build on what they're saying about local community-based responses to provide immediate shelter, I think echoing that would be good, that we had in
That we're in the process of working on this.
on reaching, connecting community-based responses. Yeah, that echoes the support of the idea.
I hate to be the downer, but I disagree. I don't believe that we are actively working on those solutions with regards to HB 3115. And I don't know that we are required to provide a response. I think it might be a good idea for us to not do anything and wait and see how this all works out. I know that there's been best intentions with other cities in Oregon, and it's not worked out for them and cost a lot of money. And there's nothing to say, just because the governor's, legislative body has decided that this is what they think should be done, means that it's in the best interest of us. And so I say that there's nothing to say that we can't wait 3 months through October or November of next year to see how this pans out and how to really implement that. I honestly feel like we'll be in a position that we're going to spend a whole lot more time and money to make something happen. And from what I've found, we're not required to do anything outside of what we're doing currently, which is allowing people to sleep on public property.
Okay, so the council had a special meeting in July, and we were going to move to get something done in October. I was asked to slow down on that, and we did. And with the council was unanimous at that time, we wanted to move forward. So I have been working for months on a special kind of meeting, working with Meredith Howell, because she's supposed to be the training expert on these community-based solutions. So we have been working on it, and I believe you were going to go with Councilor Skinner to the homeless meeting, but I don't know if you ever did. Because there was 5 of them, I think, around the state, but you did go. And so we are working on it. And our staff has talked with our legal counsel. So there's been a lot of work being done on it, just maybe not at a council meeting. And if the meeting works the way we think it will, we will get a lot of community-based answers to the problems and get some public buy-in and know what they're thinking. Because mostly what we hear is the people that are reacting to Joe Wilson's postcard. We're not getting a good, diverse, solution-oriented of the entire population. So I think we are working on it. I know I'm working on it on a regular basis and driving staff nuts. And I don't
Well,
know if she tolerates me.
I second that motion.
But we had a special meeting and the council said we need to move forward, and so that's what I have been doing. I
Right,
got my
so
marching orders.
I'm not saying to just continue educating yourself. And I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this topic. And so I feel I'm coming to the table with a very reasonable set of experiences and things that I've learned with regards to the topic. I'm not saying that we shouldn't move forward. I'm saying that we should not be in a hurry just because the governor's office says do something by this date. I don't know that we need to necessarily do that. And I think that since you said, I think we were pushing this and I think we need to slow down, that's where I went, okay, here's my opportunity to really dive into all of the grim details of 3115 and break that down. And I hope that everybody on this council has done the same.
In addition to what the Mayor was talking about, at LOC at the conference in Bend, we also had multiple sessions talking about this issue as well. And I think that, I don't know how quickly the legislature can overturn the legislation that was passed. We have an election tomorrow. I don't know what the body will look like after tomorrow, but I think it's going to be some time until it is changed, if it is changed. But I would support in the letter saying that we have been working on it because we've been studying independently.
Absolutely.
And we've been doing that. So I think that we are trying to figure out a community-based solution, which might be that our solution is not to do something, or it might be our solution is to do something. But I think it echoes this idea to the state legislature that we're working on this as a community, listen to us as a community, which wherever the council goes. I think you were saying that you would, I think listening to us as a community is a strong thing, and that as a community we are working on learning more and working to address it.
Well, and with that, what we hear from the community and what the League of Oregon City Mayors Group thinks should be the prioritizing of, investments with that money may be something completely different with respect to our rural community and what those that are in need tell us they need. It's really easy for us to, have the perception of what we think they need.
And I like that it's all the cities working to sign on this together so that other cities like ours will get their ideas too and see what other cities like Gold Beach or that have similarities to Gold Beach are doing. So I think this is a good opportunity to be working together.
I recall in the special session, wasn't the police chief, he was explaining his position. It sounded like he was between a rock and a hard place, looking for solutions, looking for a little more leverage on his side to be able to take action against some of the worst offenders of the public peace. And so, speaking of me personally, I did want to move forward with the best knowledge that we have at this moment on behalf of our public officers. Thank you, though, for bringing forth your point of view on that, because that's true. We want to make sure we're going down the right path.
I've watched every one of those meetings that we've had in the past 9 months and taken notes on all of them so that I could, it wasn't just what I was hearing, but what was being said. And one of the things that I question in this process as well is, last I understood, there was a work group created, and I think Tyson Krieger and some other folks offered up to participate in that, and so I hadn't seen anything come or any discussion from that group, so I was under the assumption that it was still kind of in waiting mode or a holding pattern. Is there anything, is there traction being gained with that group or nothing at all?
I'm working with Administrator Fritz, who is working with the staff. She has not authorized them to meet with us.
Okay. But the volunteers that were called upon and volunteered at that meeting, They have not convened to work some of that out?
They were volunteering as employees, and she controls the employees' hours. I do not. So
Well-
they were not given permission to meet with me. So what I'm saying is we're putting together a meeting so everybody can be heard, but there is going to be limited seating, but hopefully we'll get enough interested people to fill those seats, and if we can do it, we can.
And do two
Well,
sessions.
I just want to clarify, it's not authorizing to meet, it's that staff was given the role of dealing with the acute portion of it, and then the long-term solution, which is what you guys are proposing, that was where that other group came in. Staff isn't,
Yeah, because I recall it was.
we're not
beyond
working on
staff.
the long-term solution, we're working on the acute solution. So when you say not authorized, it's like, we were tasked with doing that, and that's what I asked at, I believe it was the August meeting, is that can you authorize staff to work on the acute portion of it, and then you guys, as the council, continue working on the other part. So I'm sorry if you felt like I haven't given them that, but I felt like we were tasked with a very specific project, unrelated but different than what you guys are working on. Like, your project is more of the global homelessness, how are we gonna figure out how to get these people services and stuff like that, where staff is working on the acute, how can we reduce the interactions with the police department?
And I think Tyson was participating kind of as a business.
I think that, yeah, when he volunteered there, that was
that
as a,
group, not staff.
but I haven't contacted any of those people that raised their hand during that July 15th meeting, because I felt like that was not, and maybe I misunderstood, and I'm sorry, but I didn't feel like that was staff's, what we assumed, what we took on as our portion of this project.
It was my understanding that at the meeting where you said we were gonna back and slow down, that committee that's why that committee wasn't convened, was because we were slowing down that process. That was my understanding.
So then I guess we,
haven't stopped. I keep
No,
meeting.
slowing down, not stop, slowing
I have
down.
met with Stephanie Hadley and Meredith Hall on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
So why the committee piece?
For the November 30th meeting, and I've met with Jeremy Skinner and Rebecca Marco, and we're putting it together.
So
I
I
was
think,
not authorized to talk to Chief White or Chief Krieger, and so I did not. But I have communicated regularly with the staff member that works for us, and she has contacted them and gotten back to us, and we are putting this together. If you guys, I even confirmed the date with you last month.
yeah.
So if you don't want to move forward, today's the day to pull the plug, because we've got a grant to pay for it, and
I think as far as that committee goes, those people who volunteered that day, I can't remember which month that was, maybe it was June, but I think those would be the people that we want to make sure we give personal invitations to join the event on November 30th. Maybe with the caveat of saying, we had not convened this committee because we had slowed down the process as we were finishing the housing. Hey, remember that positive thing that happened earlier tonight? Remember that? How we finished that housing plan?
Well, I think this is very positive. I think this is encouraging and engaging communication at a level greater than we've been operating at we've been so focused on housing, and now we're coming back to revisiting this topic, and I think that being inclusive of everything coming from every different direction is going to be important in making solid and sound decisions.
I don't think, Mayor, that while you know what my personal feelings are about this, we've invested too much time, you and I specifically, in the November 30th meeting, so there's no pulling the plug. I'm sorry. It's like, I may not necessarily agree with everything, but we put too much work into it.
but there's a lot of information that we're going to get from that. And
That's why
what
we're not
looking
pulling the
for.
plug, you know?
And it's, for those of you that went to the Ford Foundation, was it called CAT, Community Action Team? If I know you were part of it, those of you that went through that training, I don't know if any of you did, it's a way to get public input and actually have value to it. It's not just people showing up at a town hall meeting and screaming at you, which is what everybody else has done, and it doesn't work. It's, here's the problems, let's talk about solutions, and then get input. And I still think the second part of that meeting needs to be adjusted. But anyway,
I've heard really good
So-
reviews of it. I know that SWAC did one with the ever-going Brookings campus issue where people are upset. And I heard from multiple people that they went in, got some basic information, had conversations, came up with ideas. They felt they were heard. People came up with new ideas that they hadn't considered. And that people left, I wasn't at that meeting, but multiple people said they left feeling more informed and more connected to the people that are working on the problem. And I think if we can leave a meeting on November 30th with people feeling more informed and feeling like they have people they're working together with, even if they disagree, I think that would be amazing. But we digressed far from this number.
We have.
Yeah.
So, do we want to add anything else to the support letter besides the public loo?
Hygiene station. Didn't you
Yeah.
say hygiene station too?
Yeah, support this letter, the capital projects are the indestructible loo and the shower truck, which I don't know if that's considered the hygiene
And
station.
then I think we can add that statement that say, we too, as the city of Gold Beach, are working on local community-based responses. We're working on it in all different ways.
I think the great thing about bringing the restroom facility is that that is something that everybody in the community can use. And
Yes.
so that's a great segue into the conversation, that it's not just for, one demographic, but it's there available for everybody.
Yeah, we're trying to do something not as icky as the porta potties, because I realize they're icky, but when the other option is that the hard plumbing is being destroyed, this hopefully will be an in-between that will hopefully work for, like you said, Councilor Madison, for all the citizens.
Okay, so do we want to add working on local community-based solutions?
Sounds like it's accurate.
It's accurate and it doesn't,
Do we need to vote on it, or
No,
everybody
that
shaking
sounds
their
great.
head?
I think that's very
Okay.
transparent.
Okay, and then Mayor, can I ask you, since this is an OMA thing, do you want staff to respond to Angela, or would you prefer as the mayor responding to Angela? And it doesn't matter either way, I just want to know.
I will respond to her that we're in favor, and then if you can help me draft the letter with the quotes for the, what is the cost for the showers and the,
Okay, yes.
and Councilor Madison may already have it.
So I will do my best to get that to you tonight, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And then Mr. Pagano and I tomorrow will look into the loo cost. Like I said, I looked it up a couple years ago, but it's been a while.
Okay, thank you. That was really good work, team. This is never a fun subject. Where are we? Monthly updates,
Housing.
recurring topics, dangerous building.
Okay, I'm going to let Mr. Pagano address this one. Oh, sorry. It's just all the updates.
I don't think we have an update on dangerous building right
No,
now.
we have the ADU.
But we
Right,
did-
I'm going to have you do the ADU, and then we did talk about dangerous building. I gave you guys some homework, so that's the update on that. So ADU and bike pet grant. Take it away, Mr. Pagano.
So I met with Garrett Thompson at the county, and we actually were able to get our new ADU plans signed off. We have two different plans. We have a 400 square foot one bedroom and a 800 square foot two bedroom. Those have now been signed off by the county, so we are good to give those out. They can now skip the planning clearance portion of that, or not planning clearance, but the
Plan review.
plan review portion of that and move right into getting their permit. So that was pretty exciting to move forward on that section.
Can I get you to use your gym voice?
Yes.
And
And then
I
we
would
went-
like to applaud, but we're not supposed to applaud at meetings.
We did apply for a bike and pedestrian path grant a few months ago, and we were just notified recently that we did get, we passed the first stage, so now we are on to see if we can get through to the final stage to get the money for it. We asked for $500,000, and that would be a new 4 to 6 foot wide bike path that would start down by Port Drive, go around the airport, and come out here on 5th Street, so we would bypass the narrow side of town. So we'll hopefully find out on that one soon if we.
And this is the one identified in our urban renewal plan?
A portion of it, yes.
Sign of the
Yeah.
And I want you to know, I couldn't even get a returned email on when I requested that same thing for the ADU plan, so congratulations, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
work, thank you.
How much does that ADU plan save somebody, having those plans for free that are already approved?
It's like $250 or something at least.
I talked to someone at one point, it was like $3,500 that they had paid for plan review
Well,
per plan.
yeah, right, it depends, right? But yeah, so,
It's like $300 for a garage, just for the review part.
yeah, no, that's really cool.
And then the other nice thing, and Mr. Pagano did all of this work. The other nice thing was that the plans are all ready. You know, so they're not gonna have to go, you know, usually you either have to hire somebody or go buy some canned plans or whatever. These plans are now, they're all good to go. They can take the plans to, you know, their contractor or Home Depot if they are self-sufficient, and they can, you know, buy the materials and go, so.
So are you gonna market that with the ADU rebate program?
Yep.
It's kind of your baby now.
It is. I like it. We actually have a bunch of different applications coming through. People are waiting for the HAP to end up being finalized before they submit their applications, but we've got 4 or 5 in the pipeline right now.
Yeah. Are they waiting because they need something in that ordinance?
One of them is planning on doing a cottage cluster, and a couple other people are just weighing their options,
Cool.
so.
Okay. At last meeting, did we want to come back at the next meeting on how much of our funds we want to go towards those rebates? I feel that we had talked about putting a number on it, either a time date on it or an amount number. Time date meaning deadline, sorry.
I think if you do that, it puts pressure on people to get it done.
Yeah, that's what.
But go ahead.
And the mayor and I had talked about circling back on the project, what we're gonna use in December, after the election, about what do we wanna use some of those ARPA funds for now. And by that time, I'll have a better idea of what, because we got the second payment from them recently, but we still have quite a bit of last year's payment. And maybe that's, so anyway, we'll bring that back in December.
Exciting.
Yes.
It's slow. Government is slow, but I'm seeing progress. I hope everybody else is. Okay. Did you want to make any comments on your CA report?
The stats in there, I just tried to, because I'm a Cudiaphobe, but also I'm a data geek. The SARS-CoV-2 wastewater monitoring that we're part of, I think there's 20 different cities statewide that are participating in that. Doesn't cost us anything other than Ron's time to collect the samples. But they provide us with all the, like, we don't have to pay to send the sample up there, it's just his time. But I just find it very interesting that while certain individuals in our community think that this isn't real and it's not there, it's like, it's there, it's all red. It's still there. So, so to me, that's an interesting data point. Planning, I had Mr. Pagano see how many permits were pulled in September. I didn't look for October yet, but we'll do that for next month. And the visitor center sends me these monthly stats, which are kind of cool. They keep track of who comes from different cities, and then also the international visitors. And then there was kind of some recent discussion about that, you know, staff really hasn't provided a report lately. And I just wanted you to know that the council packet that I put together each month, that is a large portion of my time is spent on the different elements of the thing. And while that one, this one was huge this time, they're typically not that big, but sometimes a small report, maybe 2 or 3 pages, can involve weeks of my time. So when we say that we haven't gotten a CA report, it's like, okay, but every month you get this agenda package from me. That's the work that I'm doing. And then in the not working on the agenda package time, it's just the day-to-day stuff of my job. I mean, anyway, so I just kind of went through like, what's the day in the life of me, and there it is. So, and obviously last week with the auditors here, I was Jody, the bookkeeper last week. Tonight, I was Jody, the planning director, dealing with that. So it really just depends. I talked in there a little bit about HR personnel terminations. When one of those is going on, that actually takes about 100% of my time. So then all the other jobs that I still have to do get done on the after hours time. So one of the things, I don't know if you read through the whole report, but making it public tonight, Will Newdall is retiring. And he has worked for the city for 28 years. I feel like both of my arms have been chopped off because Will is important to me, not just for his public works job, but because I rely on him for a lot of other things. He's kind of my if you're familiar with The Godfather, he's kind of my Tom. You know, I talk to him about a lot of stuff. So, so that's like, again, I have no arms. We're looking right now for, obviously to fill the position. We have it advertised everywhere, but like all jobs, we're not getting any applicants. So anyway, Will is going to stay on until we get, because the certifications that he has for our water plant and our wastewater plant, he is going to stay on in a contract capacity for those signatures, because until we get somebody that has the certifications that he has legally, the city needs his certifications. So there'll be a time, I'm not sure what the length of that time is, that we'll need him for those. And then the phase 2 of the water project, which we had all hoped was done 2 years ago, and it actually just now got started, all because of COVID. He is going to stay on in a contract capacity to ensure that project gets completed. He was the one that was there in the beginning. He knows all the stuff. In fact, the contractor was kind of freaking out when he found out he was going to be retiring too. It's like, I'm going to be working with. So that won't be an everyday thing. That's probably going to be like a, you know, because there's times that he's needed there more than others. So anyway, so he's not completely gone. He's not leaving the area. His wife still is the principal at the high school. He's going to be around. But he's made it very clear that, yeah, he's going to be here, but he has other things that he's going to be doing, and good for him. But, so if you guys see Will, you know, just say something. And that's all I got, so.
Thank you. The comment about not getting a CA report anymore was in reference to somebody asking us to do a regular news story. And it wasn't to dish you, it was that we don't have time to do an additional thing. So it really was not meant to be offensive, so I apologize if it was.
I think I took it that way at first, but then I came around. But I just want you to know that just because you don't get a report, like a CA report, that to me, the agenda packet is a huge portion of my job for you. You know, that's the work that I do for the city.
Missed that 2 or 3 page report you used to give us with a picture on it.
Wait, there were pictures?
Yeah, if you look at our old reports, you know. But
See?
life got really, really busy, and so I apologize if I offended you. It was not meant to do that. It was just to contrast that our staff is at capacity. So, thank you. All right, next up is councilor comments. Councilor Madison.
Oh, yay. Do I always go first, or is it like whoever's voting?
You're always listed first.
Position 1.
We can
You're
switch
number
in.
1. You
You're
chose that
number
position.
1. You want me to go reverse?
No, that's fine.
Just remember your gym voice.
Okay, so first off, I'd like to just kind of cover for Anna Marie Curtis, our business coordinator with Gold Beach Main Street. She and I have been working on a lot of the internal organizational components of not just her responsibilities, but the sustainability long-term. And so, so we've been working on a report out that, that is specific to the city, that includes the city council goals, what's reflected in her current job description, the urban renewal priorities, and then Main Street requirements. And so I've shared that when it comes to city council and urban renewal, that's exactly what they want to know you're doing, and all that other fluff can wait for your board. And so that's been fun to put together. So I know that that she will have something completely different for you next month. Okay. With that, we are. She's great. I'm so glad she loves this community. We're working on. I don't even know how to. It's called Better Blocks, and so you address the urban renewal projects block by block in the community. And so she's got this consultant that's going to come in and work with, you know, in conjunction with the architect that's got the ideas for whatever they're paying him to do. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to start with this block, right? And so we're leveraging the Diamonds in the Rough funding and the infrastructure funds coming down in January. We've got those, what do you call it, contractors. We've got contractors doing the bids on the pricing for the projects and asking them to actually make sure that they're 6-month, you know, friendly, because we don't know what materials will look like. So pulling the historical preservation components, learning from the dip, and it's cute because like we're like, okay, so we're focused on these 4 businesses right here on this block, and then there's a neighbor business is like, hey, I heard what you guys are doing, and I want in on that, and so it's cool because it's building some relationships between these businesses we haven't seen historically. But with that, there is an event that she tagged me in, and we're going to actually talk to Derek Ton today at SWAP, SBDC, and Anna Marie and I are going to attend an event in Cave Junction, Reinventing Rural, and its emphasis is energizing small business entrepreneurs. And so we're going to go learn from that and then see how we can make the most of that when we bring it to Curry. There is one going on in Coos, but I'm not going to ask somebody in Harbor to travel to Coos and close the doors on their business to see if that might be something we need to entertain. So, yeah, the Diamonds in the Rough, historical combo. Oh, so yeah, the combo's contagious. Okay, so yeah. So another thing that we're really doing with all the infrastructure funds coming down federally in January, we're all in hot pursuit of getting all of our statistics, our data, all of our reportables prepared so that when those essays are required and those messages are needing to be drafted, we've got the guts there. We're pulling the priorities from the wording of the grants and making sure that what the funder is looking for is exactly what we're giving them, and preparing that so that we can just pump out a lot of grants throughout this county. And yeah, so I don't know that I copied any of you on that, but it's coming. Miranda's working on a Travel Oregon grant to support the event center's onboarding of a project manager for their capital improvement work. I went to the drinking water and fish habitat conservation meeting last week, and water issues are everywhere. And I think that we have such a dynamic team with Will and his staff, and then here in the main building, that we don't experience that like the hardship that I'm seeing with other communities. Like Powers has a gentleman that stands by their reservoir and wards off anybody that's coming to scoop up water. It's that bad. So with that, there were also some Porterford counselors in attendance that said, hey, we want to come check out your city council. You guys are pretty awesome. We think you guys do a great job. And I'm like, well, thank you. How many meetings do you really watch? Because I'll be on my best behavior for that one. But that just really reiterated, you know, for me that it's our responsibility to have the tough conversations on behalf of the community, right? Because that's what we represent, and it's not just one train of thought or one simple solution, but it's those difficult conversations that we don't take personal, but we are advocating on behalf of everything that we're hearing from our constituents. And so I'm just grateful to be a part of the team with great staff and volunteers and electeds that really make things happen. I don't know anybody that's doing what they're doing with housing like we are right now. So I appreciate being a part of this team very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Franklin.
That's a tough act to follow there.
I didn't have to follow, I already did mine. Mine happened at the beginning of the meeting.
Councilor Martinez.
Just personally, I had a very eventful October. I'd just like to point out that my family and I, we attended the Fall Festival at the fairgrounds. And the kids, almost every single kid there was having a great time. And it was, dare I say, it was rather a simple affair. It didn't take much for these kids to really enjoy themselves. And it was quite lovely. And I just want to commend the organizers of that. And they did put together quite the spooky little maze, or a labyrinth inside. Definitely frightened my children, so that was great. I participated in a disc golf tournament, the first of its kind in Port Orford. It was organized by a city councilor member there, Greg Tidy, and the cause was to raise money to replace some of their playground equipment at their Buffington Park. Over 40 people participated at $25 a head. I did the math. It's over $1,000 was raised just through those funds. And I did speak with a player who was personal friends with Greg Tidy. He said he'd been playing ever since they built it. He said he has lost 25 pounds playing regularly, and it's changed his life incredibly for the better. So I'm just a big advocate for disc golf. And not that this needs to be said, but I won the tournament. And I'm just happy. I'm just so happy that there are such positive, fun things in the community happening that we all can enjoy. And it's going to continue to happen, I'm sure of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Skinner. I know you've been to a couple things.
I'm still maybe in like 5 years I can have a pool. Like there was a swimming and it was way fun, and swimming is amazing.
I can't believe I forgot to bring my trophy.
Oh, next month. Next month. Oh no, take a picture of my profile.
There we go.
I am excited with my whole, I'm trying every month to talk about conserving energy, and I'm like, where do I need to turn my heater up as it's cold? I'm turning off this light, so I'm still on conserving energy, and I would love to do like a big citywide promo. But that all came to being when I was attending the offshore wind listening sessions or whatever conversations that were going on throughout the community. And I will say I was very happy to see that BOEM has brought together a committee of people to research the potential effects of offshore wind off the southern Oregon coast. So all of the conversations that were had, especially all the fisher people who have been working with NOAA for years, at their everybody to the table have a discussion model, all of those conversations made a difference. A huge federal agency is listening to what the people in southern Oregon are having to say and throughout the state are having to say about offshore wind. And I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that some Curry County people will be on that, some people connected to fisheries and to biologists and all of that. So I was delighted. I was like talking out loud when I saw that email come through from the Oregon Department of Energy. I'm like, yes, this sounds like a great idea. But still, remember, conserve energy, right? Less charging, less heat is so hard. Other, not as positive, but helpful. The Sir Optimus Club in Gold Beach just had people attending the district conference, and we're looking at potentially bringing some speakers down to work with the kids in the school about online safety and security. One of the things that they focus on in the advancement of women and girls is the reduction in human trafficking, but other violations and things. So I thought that was really promising, and seeing that connection between the community and the schools was really promising. And to the promising of the schools, we had a principal, we had students, we had coaches, we have a student liaison. I'm very excited. At the League of Oregon Cities Conference, I got to attend an outreach on youth engagement, and a lot of the bigger cities have youth councils, and I'm like, well, we have a student liaison position open. Sergio, nice work recruiting counselor Martinez. But one of the things the mayor from Aurora, the former mayor from Aurora, suggested was that we flip it, and that we go into the schools each month. And so I committed as a counselor to go into Riley Creek each month to visit and bring along a friend. So I'm looking for a friend to bring along from staff or elected for the month of November. So just a visit where the kids get to know us and share. And I will tell you, I saw 4th through 8th grade when I was there last, and they were very much engaged, and they were asking questions and sharing ideas, and it was really good. So I was just really kind of did a meet and greet, but I think there's a lot of potential, and I'd love for some people to help with that. And one of the things we'll be doing is the If I Were Mayor, is that what it's called? If I Were Mayor contest, and Principal March is really excited about that, and that's a contest that's open to elementary and middle and high school students, and that's going to be pretty cool. Consumer energy, lots of big events coming up. I was checking my calendar. The city is rocking it out in November and December. There are a lot of things going on in Gold Beach. And I will say that library trivia is back. And if you go into the library, you'll see the wall of gingerbread houses ready to go out after, I think it's the 26th. Everyone wants to know, but there's a big sign that says the date, but I can't remember. But lots of cool things going on in our community. Super excited to seeing the kids connecting to the community. Thank you.
Okay, well, I also attended the Fall Festival. I have to agree with you. It was great. I think Caitlin and Trish really went over the top with that. They did a wonderful job of putting that together. And talking with people from the community and from 4-H, while I was there, listening to them, advocating for the kids and taking part wholeheartedly in making this a great experience for our young people was just lovely to see. It was something special. Coming up, the event center is holding their holiday bazaar the 17th and 18th. I think it's the Friday and Saturday. And of course Langlois is doing theirs the same weekend. And the Ellisburg Theater Company is in rehearsal for a Zeusified Christmas Carol. So it's the typical Christmas Carol story, but it's Zeusified, which means the entire play is in Zeus rhyme. And it should be a lot of fun. Miranda is directing that, and her background is in film, so she's making use of some of that, as well as live actors in front of the film and live actors participating in the filming. So it's going to be great fun to see and a good thing for our kids. We're also seeking sponsorships because we intend to have 3 of the matinee performances will be free for children with accompanied by a paying adult. So 2 kids with a paying adult get in for free. Which means that a family of 4 with 2 parents, the parents pay and that's it. 4 kids just got in for free. And we want this, we'll take part in the parade on December the 3rd, the light up parade. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a good season for kids this year.
Do you know, is the Kids Mall back this year?
You know, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about it. I wish it would, because the kids really enjoyed that. And I still have the presents from my grandchildren when they went to kids' malls.
It?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry, one more thing. I simply want to express my appreciation for this council and for the work that's done here. It's very possible this is my last council meeting, so I'm going to say to you, thank you all so much, and I have learned so much here, and I appreciate you all more than you know.
No matter what, we expect you in December.
Okay.
Changing the guards not till the 15th of December.
Okay. Okay.
You're not getting off that quick.
Well, a girl can try.
Before I do mine, you didn't fill anything out. Did you want to, you stayed the whole meeting. Did you want to say anything?
I do.
Oh, okay. Just want to state your name, and I didn't get a paper from you, so I didn't know you wanted to.
No, well, I didn't know that I wanted to speak
Okay.
until
But now
I
you do, okay.
heard the OMA
Can you give us just your
discussion.
name, not your address?
Joseph Smith, you want the full address?
No, don't give us the
Just
address.
Gold Beach.
We used to do that, and then now it's a privacy issue.
So, a couple of comments on the OMA thing. If I followed the meeting correctly, you guys have already decided you want to pursue that avenue, but my thoughts are that according to this letter that Jody gave me from Angela Spire, OMA is proposing a direct allocation of funding from the state. Well, that says to me that the state's going to send us money after they tax all of us, but inherent in any government operation is a lot of overhead. And the further the government gets away from us, the people, the more expensive that overhead is. Many decades ago, I did a little research, and at that time, it was probably 90% overhead and 10% benefit to the intended audience. So just keep that in mind. If they're going to send us money, they're going to have strings attached, and it's going to have a lot of overhead with it. And power moves to that power center then when they hold the purse strings. So I'm sure you are already aware of that. And then along the same line, the discussion about homelessness, public toilets and showers. Homelessness is not just a problem, but it's a symptom of a bigger problem. And that bigger problem is personal problems in people's lives. And to just meet a physical need like a toilet or a place to sleep isn't going to solve the problem, because the problem is inside of the people who are living in that situation. I've had a lot of interaction with a lot of homeless people over the years, and I've seen very few success stories. But recently, I did see one, and it was very encouraging. And without the help of, I'm going to call it NGOs, non-government, generally God-related activities associated with bringing those people out of that homeless situation, you're just throwing money in a hole, if I might say it that way. So I'm kind of feeling like Summer Madison was. Better not send them any information at this point. Let it kind of roll along a while and see if we have some better options come along. I know there's a lot of people in the community that would like to see the homeless problem resolved or at least reduced. And I'm sure that given the right solutions collaboratively, that we can come up with something that will work. And on the thought about a indestructible toilet, there is no such thing. But we have metal fabricators close by in Curry County that can build something like that for a whole lot less than you can get it out of Portland or someplace like that. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you for your efforts. I appreciate what you're doing and trying to solve some really thorny problems. Thank you.
If you'd like to be invited to the homeless meeting, could you give Mr. Pagano your name and email or address?
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 sessions on the 30th, one in the afternoon about 2, and then an evening
I
one.
won't be here rest of the month.
Okay.
So.
Well, if you give us your email address, we're going to have some product come out of it, and so we'd be happy to share that with you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Okay, for me, I'll try to keep it really short. Going to the League of Oregon Cities Conference is always interesting to me, and I haven't been to one in years because of the pandemic. They've only been online, and it was in Van, which isn't my favorite place to have a League of Oregon Cities Conference, but it was good, and I appreciate everybody at this dais because there's a lot of dysfunction at this level, and we functioned really well, and we do a good job, and I'm proud to work with each and every one of you, and thank you for everything that you do. It was a lot of fun learning more about how to serve better and the different tips and learning products from other elected officials that have dealt with local government issues, and it was really a beneficial thing. I hope everybody puts that in their calendar for next year because it's one of my favorite learning sessions. And for the mayor's conference I went to last August, one of the comments one of the speakers made, it was the keynote speaker, was that how many people are investing in their own board and their own council for professional development. And a lot of people were saying not very many, other than 1 or 2 on the council. And so I'd like to encourage everybody to think about that. And the League of Oregon Cities is one of the most significant education sources for our state, and it's also the place where legislature goes to say, what's the pulse of the cities? And they don't give PAC money because they're not allowed to legislators, but legislators will come to them and say, what's the pulse and what are the cities saying? That's why they ask our opinion, and we get through a lot more that way. And I've been told we're much more effective than the Association of Oregon Counties.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's because there's more of us or not. And there will be some positions open on the board of the League of Oregon Cities if anybody's interested. You might consider that. It's been a long time since anybody from here has served on that.
Mayor, are they having a spring conference too?
There will be a spring conference, and I don't recall where. It's in Seaside.
And then the next local cities meeting is November 7th.
November 17th in Lakeside. I was wondering if Councilor Pagano could go to that.
And if one of you guys wants to go, I went to one. It was really good.
Yeah, the one in Coquille was fun.
Timing for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can make that one. I've got a couple other meetings that will cancel. But the Region 6 small cities meetings, they actually have been inviting Coos Bay North Bend. And so it was really fun because Roger Craddock came and Mayor Hoopie came. And so it was nice to hear what's going on up there too. I really like from here to Coquille. It's so upbeat. Just like Chief White.
Oh, speaking of that,
We didn't talk about
yeah, make that announcement.
Chief White has a brand new baby girl. I believe we're on the 30th.
Yes.
Yeah, because she was born in Shelby's,
She was fully baked. And so that's why he's not here tonight.
Your name is? Sage.
Sage.
Not Sage.
Sage White.